Hello and welcome to this episode of Forever Great in Conversation. It's great to have you with us if you're watching on YouTube, and also fantastic to have you with us if you're listening on the podcast. Today I'm absolutely delighted to have a very dear friend of mine here in the Forever Great studio. It's Joanne Robinson. Joanne Robinson is the founder of the Little Art School and the co-founder of the Little Art School Trust. Joanne, great to have you with me.
Thank you, it's brilliant to be here.
So we've got about 30 odd minutes to have a great conversation. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready for some chat.
Okay, let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
So, you're a Lancashire lass, I believe.
Yeah.
And reading your bio and following you and getting to know a bit more about you on prep for this, I'd like you to tell me a bit about the journey from being a Lancashire lass to being one of the first in your school, I believe, and being accepted into Oxford University.
Well, no one in my family had really gone to university, so it wasn't something we really thought about. And then just at school, I was quite smart but a bit naughty. And it wasn't a place really where there was an expectation to go to university. So when I was 16, I was probably hanging around within a not great crowd, didn't have high ambitions, but really knew I wanted to go to university. I don't even know why. Partly because of my love of history. So I studied history and I was passionate about history. So I went to my teachers and said, I want to go to university. I want to go to sixth form. My school finished at 16 and more people from my school went to prison than went to university. It was that kind of school, really. So at 16, when I said, I'm going to go and do A-levels, which is what you do down in England, I was told, you'd probably do better doing a YTS scheme. YTS is something that was abandoned years ago, youth training scheme.
Yeah, I remember it.
And they said, because you're a little bit posh, you might be all right to do Marks and Spencers.
Wow.
So I was thinking, I don't want to do a YTS. I want to go to university. I know I do. I was very bookish, and I put my head down and I got the grades and got to my sixth form college. When I got to my sixth form college, I watched Brideshead Revisited and the boat race and decided I was going to go to Oxford. When I told my teachers, they actually laughed in my face.
So you knew then, by watching that, there was a moment, an epiphany of
Oxford.
this is happening.
Going to Oxford, that is totally my place. And I had one teacher who really got behind me and supported me. He was amazing. And I had other teachers. Well, I was sitting in my Oxford interview. They said to me, we've never said this before, Joanne, but you appear to have been predicted an E in your English. Wow. We can't accept you if that's what you're going to get. And I'd said, I won't, I'll get an A. My teacher doesn't like me. I'm going to get in. Even being allowed to sit the entrance exam to Oxford for me was a battle to be able to do it. And I just had this internal, I am going to do this. I am going to do this and I'm going to get there. And when I got the place, I remember the teacher saying to this girl, you've got in. And then he pointed at me and he went, you've sailed in. And I was 18. And at that point I thought, no one is ever for the rest of my life going to tell me that I can't do something, that I'm not good enough to do something, because I just put my head down. It didn't happen out of magic. I am not a genius. I'm not super intelligent. I just worked hard. I worked my arse off. I really worked to get it. And that has really, with what I'm doing now in the Little Art School, it isn't about flashes of inspiration. They're very few and far between. It really is just work. Putting my head down. I'm working hours and hours and hours watching YouTube videos on how you think, reading hundreds of books on how you grow a business. Just that's how I've done it.
So working to expand the toolkit, the knowledge, the skills, the confidence.
Yeah, and nobody's going to give it to you.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to come up to you and say, I don't come from an entitled background. Nobody's ever going to come and say, there you go, there's your business. There's your 10 grand we're going to give you to start it off. It really has been just about graft.
Yeah.
So when I think about Lancashire, and I feel very comfortable in the west coast of Scotland because I think it's like that as well, it is like there is a philosophy of graft here that you really work. And
there's an expectation a bit here as well, isn't there, about work?
Yeah.
And people like to see people working and achieving.
That's right.
And the results of where hard work leads to.
I think there's this myth of the overnight success.
Yeah.
Like the amount of people who've said to me recently, because we're just on the point of franchising the Little Art School, that was just in my dining room, and now it's on the point. So, it's almost happened overnight. And I think it has not happened overnight.
It's a long time.
This has taken years, as you know, years of really hard work Not just by me, my business
Your
partner,
team.
and by my whole team. And going back, that's what my childhood taught me, was that you sit at home, you do your homework, you work really hard, you get where you're going to go to, but it's just graft.
So going back, because we've got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover, you went to Oxford at 18. How was that? How did you feel? Did you feel accepted? Did you feel that it was a natural transition for you, or did you struggle at the time,
I
at the
didn't
start?
struggle even one jot, I would say. So I'd left home at 16 to move in with my grandparents. It's a long story. And during that time, my granddad died. So I was living with my grandma, who I was very close to, and that comes back into the story later with dementia. But I was living with my grandma. I was a long way from home, from my family and my friends. And I had to grow up really rapidly when my granddad died. And I had to very quickly become quite self-sufficient. So when I got to Oxford, there's a lot of people at Oxford. They'll say however many people go to state schools. They are including in state schools, grammar schools in High Wycombe, and where I'd go around to people's houses and I'd think, you went to a state school, you live in like £1 million house on the side of the Thames. That is not where I was growing up in Preston. But I felt there was a lot of entitlement, and I just got there and I really had this thing inside me thinking, I fought tooth and nail to get here.
So do you think you've always had this, and it's obviously from your roots, and your roots from home, and the upbringing and conversations you've had with is it a family of 4?
So I've got a younger sister and an older brother, so there's 3 of us.
There's 3 of you. So it was obviously, you obviously had some form of tenacity and drive inside that you were keen to do something.
Also, I think, and I see this a lot, I'm passionate about social mobility. Partly because of what's happened to me, but also because I see it every day. I see it when I go into Newton Primary every single Thursday. Those kids should be having exactly the same opportunities as the children who are going to Eton, but they're not. The world is so skewed. I actually think it's worse now than it was in the 1980s.
This is something that you're really keen to champion, as this social mobility around everyone having these opportunities.
It's absolutely at the core of so much that I believe, that if you allow children to believe in themselves, if you give them the space, the time, the encouragement, the help to show them what they can do, then they can create magic. If you close the doors to them, even though plenty of teachers closed the door to me and didn't believe in me, lots of them, but I had 2 that did. A Latin teacher at school and a history teacher at sixth form.
And it's great we always remember.
Oh, everybody does,
These
don't
1
they?
or 2
Dr.
or 3.
Lightfoot, Mr. Cruikshank.
That hold your hand or provide opportunities.
Yeah.
So you went to Oxford, you graduated.
And I had an amazing 4 years. Loved every day.
And I bet you had some real good fun down there as well, let's be honest.
An awful lot of fun.
Tell me a bit, or tell us, I should say, a bit about the Fukushima project. So you went to Japan, am I right?
So when I was while I was at university, I was permanently broke because something happened when I was 18. My parents decided to go to university, not back to university, to university. You didn't know this, did you?
Wow, no.
So this is the first time.
Do you think that was inspired, though, by
my dad
your
did the
daughter's
same
success?
degree. So my dad, I was in my 2nd year doing history. My dad was in his 1st year at a different university. He used to send me his essays every week, which I would correct and send back to him.
Wow.
And my mum was doing 1st year doing nursing. So at 45, they had this complete change in what they were doing, which has really inspired me as a woman in her 40s setting up a business. You can do anything. You don't have to do it when you're 18. You don't have to do it when you're 22. You can do it when you're 40 or 50. But my parents, was a brilliant decision, but we were broke. And most of my really closest friends are still friends from university. And they will still wind me up about this. Even though I had no money, the minute I got an overdraft, I'd go, beers are on me!
Let's go!
And everyone would be like, Joanne's been to NatWest, she's got another 500 quid. Down to the beer cellar.
Sounds great.
So I left with, minuscule debts compared to what kids are leaving with now. But at the time, I couldn't have gone and taken an internship or moved to London and lived with somebody. I just had no money. So I just looked to see what I could earn the most money at. And my best friend, still my best friend, was going out to Japan. She'd done a Japanese degree and she said, have a look at this scheme. It's called the JET scheme. We were being paid a fortune. It was loads of money. We flew 1st class to Tokyo. I'd left Oxford and a week later I was on a 1st class flight to Tokyo, staying in the Hilton. And I thought, God, university's brilliant.
Look what's happened.
Look, this is what graduate life is like that. And all these people have said, what, you're going to get a job. But look, this is it. It's 1st class flight.
And how long were you there for then?
I was there just over a year. I'd signed a contract for my 2nd year. I was in Tohoku, which is north of Tokyo. It's about an hour, just over an hour north of Tokyo on the bullet train. But Tohoku is a really different place. Fukushima, nobody had ever heard of Fukushima before the tsunami. You know, people didn't know about Fukushima. It's a really beautiful part of the world. I mean, God, the mountains. Japan's amazing, and I'm still a passionate Japanophile. But
it must have been a great sense of where you were from, then going to Oxford, then getting this opportunity and getting paid pretty reasonably to go to Asia, the other side of the world, to have an experience for a year. But that wasn't enough for Joanne, was it? Because then you come back home, and then there's another opportunity.
Well, when I came back, because I thought, this is amazing, life as a graduate, because no one in my family had done this really, so it's like, people clearly want to spend vast amounts of money on you. All the people who stayed in Jet had all worked, done a real job, then they'd gone out, whilst they spent the whole time going, this is incredible. But I hadn't, so I had a reality check when I got home. I applied for a few different jobs, and then I had one on the table, and it was at a boys' school in London. It's a very academic boys' school, and I didn't have a teacher training qualification, but I went down for the interview, and halfway through the interview, I was the only woman in the interview panel. I knew they'd not really employed women there before, not someone from my background. Went round, halfway through the interview, they took me to the boat. They have their own boat launch onto the Thames. And I thought, oh, actually, I've got a chance at this. Because while I'd been at Oxford, I spent the whole time on the river. I was coxing big, beefy men, shouting at them, telling them what to do. So I knew and I did get offered the job. So I had this job on the table, teaching, had a free flat in Covent Garden. It was amazing. And then my dad, as a laugh one night in the pub, said, do you know what you need? You need to join the armed forces. It would be the making of you. So I went to the recruiting place in Preston, picked up some bits and bobs. I was going to the Navy. They asked me about myself, and I said, I studied history at Oxford. And the RAF guy said, oh, you should come and do intelligence. I was like, oh,
intelligence.
Sounds like James Bond.
It's so exciting.
And I'd been waiting at Oxford for someone to tap me on the shoulder and go, somebody would like a word. Nobody ever did. Apart from you haven't paid your bar bill. But so I then got the information, and it stopped being a joke. And then I went down for the officer selection, their recruitment thing, which is quite difficult. It's over several days. It's really hard, it's quite hard to get in. Intelligence recruits hardly anyone, so I just thought, I won't stand a chance. But do you know what? It's a bit of a giggle.
I'll go and give it a
My term doesn't
shot,
start at this private school until September, and at this point it was like January. It'll be a bit of fun. So went through all that, and then I got the offer, and I had them, and I just remember they were on the table like this, and it was boys' school. The wage was 3 times what it was going to be for joining the RAF as a pilot officer in training. And all my friends, all of them, apart from one, my friend Martin, who thought it was quite glamorous that I might be carrying a gun, all of them said, don't do it, this is a huge mistake. And I thought, sod it, you're only young once. And I joined up in 1997 as... And
how was your time? Briefly, how was your time as an intelligence officer? How did you find that?
In the RAF, you're told constantly through your training, or in the Army and the Navy, it's the same. You're an officer first, so your first primary job is an officer. And I thought that meant it was me telling people what to do. Because I was really good at that in the boats, but it isn't actually. When you're an officer, you're still bottom of the pile as a junior officer. So everyone else, I wasn't very good at that, being told what to do. So
because you were obviously a strong-minded person. You were on opinions.
I was 24. I wasn't straight out of university. I was the only person pretty much on my course that wasn't straight out of university. Everyone's straight out of university. They'd been cadets. I had travelled the world, had done different things. And so someone would go, no, we're going to do it like this. And I'd go, oh, but do you know what? I've got a really good idea. Could we try?
And were they open? But this is where I'd like to jump, because this was where not problems, but you started to find actually your entrepreneurial spirit that we're about to go into next.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's 23 years since I joined the RAF, and maybe things have changed now. I don't know, but when I started my business and got into entrepreneurial, when we began talking about it, I just felt like I'd come home, totally come home, because my time in the Air Force, it knocked so much confidence out of me, because my way of thinking, oh, but we could do it a different way, that was not welcome. This is the way we do it. You have to follow these processes. And I can see why. And I can see the kind of people who really succeed in that world. And I've got so much respect for the people who do, and lots of friends. And, you know, when I joined up in 97, it really was cocktails and the officers' mess and maybe a bit of a trip out to Bosnia, but that had kind of finished by then anyway. But everything changed when the Twin Towers came down, you know, and it wasn't then, it was Basra and Helmand Province and my friends. I didn't do all that, they did all that, and I have a huge amount of admiration. And actually, I'm not sure that those theatres of war are places for people with an entrepreneurial mindset.
Yes.
They're for people who understand what they've got to do and how you follow a chain of orders and rules of engagement. And rules of engagement in itself.
But I think it's one of these things, though, and I'm sure you'll share this with us, is that you obviously, what I love about these conversations or finding out about people is that it was meant to be, you were meant to be there, you were meant to experience that. And having been the girl from Lancashire, Oxford University, experience in Japan, coming back, then having some options, going into intelligence, you obviously have always had this kind of entrepreneurial spirit about you, which led to, you've had a love of art, you've got a love of art. You moved to Scotland. When did you arrive in Scotland? 12 years ago. And you moved with your husband.
That's right. So that's the best thing that came out of the Air Force.
Yeah.
Was
meeting Nigel.
Yeah.
And you've got 4 children.
I've got 4 amazing children.
You live in the beautiful seaside town of Ayr,
which I love.
the Ayrshire coast.
Yeah.
So let's get into the real exciting scenario of where you are, and the real scenario, the status quo of where Joanne is now. So you're the founder of the Little Art School. You're the co-founder of the Little Art School Trust. Tell us about the launch, or how the Little Art School began.
Well, there was
Where
no
did it
plan.
start?
There was absolutely no plan. I didn't study art. I gave up art when I was 14 at school. I think it was mainly because I was flirting with this boy, Nicholas Rowlett, so I wasn't concentrating.
I wouldn't say too much about that.
And gave up on my art. Didn't think I could do it, because I believed the myth that you could either do it or you can't do it. And that's what my whole business has been about, smashing that myth apart.
So share with us the myth again.
The myth is that you're born. So if I had I'd be a very rich lady if I had £1 for everyone who said, well, it missed me. Or, well, my she gets it from her auntie.
So I can't draw. I can't paint.
Draw. Or she can
creative.
paint because she's inherited the skill. It's not red hair. It's not blue eyes. It's not an inherited skill. It's a learned skill. You would never say to a child, you can't learn the piano, because there's no one in our family who's ever...
Who does that?
No. So you mustn't have that gene. You learn the piano by starting to play, practicing, realising when you've gone wrong, playing it again 100 times, and drawing's the same. It's exactly the same. So I saw a poster when I was how old would I have been? About 29. I was in the Air Force, but I had broken my back. I'd love to say it was doing something really daring, but it wasn't. I'd fallen down the stairs sleepwalking, and I couldn't do the job I was doing at the time. So with my back situation, so I was signed off work, and I was pretty bored, and I was pregnant with my first child, and I saw a sign. We were living in London, and I saw a sign in it. It said, drawing and painting for those who think they can't. And I thought, oh, well, I can't. I'm going to go to that. So I went to the class. It was a Tuesday morning. It was all people in their 70s and me. And about 3 classes in, I thought, oh, I can learn to do this. So I've been learning ever since.
So could you see that you were
I was rubbish. I mean, I was rubbish. It wasn't like I went in and went, oh gosh, this is amazing, as I came out with some kind of Da Vinci portrait. I learned how to draw a line. I learned how to draw a circle. I learned how you put things in. And I started going to night classes, and because I'm a avid reader, I started buying books, and I read book after book after book.
So did you immerse yourself in this learning then?
No, I was doing other things. I had 2 babies within 20 months. I did a master's in museum studies. I was working as a journalist. It wasn't like I was sitting at home secretly trying to become an artist.
There was a lot of stuff going on.
Loads of stuff going on, but I was loving my drawing, and I was learning all the time. And within 10 years of that first lesson, I was selling portraits. So that was just teaching myself, and also just really following this. Give it a go.
Yeah.
What's there to lose? Give it a go.
That feels a bit of your... I get that it's a bit of your mantra, though.
Yeah.
Now, it has been for a long time now. Let's give it a go. Let's try it.
Let's go. So I'm telling you about Oxford or Japan. These are the successes of my life. In that, I've probably got 100, which have been catastrophic failures. But you kind of just dust yourself off and think, oh, what's next?
So you come to Scotland, you set up in your family home, and something happens one summer around the table. So the Little Art School is formed. Tell us briefly what happened.
It started in a primary school. I went to a primary school to teach. My daughter had moved schools, went to teach a drawing lesson. And all this stuff that had been building up inside me, like, this is so exciting. Anyone could do this. Why is everybody not drawing? Because it's really relaxing. It's a lovely thing to do. It's free. It's non-digital. It's meditative. Went in to do this art class with a load of P6s. And it really was one of those, da-da, eureka moments. I was having them draw. It was from a book called Betty Edwards' Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. And it's saying with drawing, you've got to stop thinking, this is a nose, this is an eye. This is what the whole Little Art School course is based on.
Is it shapes, more around the shape?
This is a triangle next to a circle, and the circle's a lot smaller. So we did this painting from this book. It's called, it's quite a famous one. It's Picasso pen drawing, line drawing of Stravinsky, who's a composer. And you turn it upside down. So I wouldn't let them look at it the right way up.
Yeah.
So when you look at it upside down, you really are just looking at abstract shapes. So they all did it, and then we turned it over, and there's this lad going, and he was just looking between the picture he was supposed to be drawing and his. It was like a photocopy. And the teacher came up and went, what? Did you trace it? And he was like, no, I didn't, and I'd been watching him.
You must have.
And then she showed me his book. And she said, I'm really telling you this, he cannot draw. And it was a stick man, and it was a really bad stick man. And yet he'd done a Picasso drawing like a photocopy because he'd switched on this right side of his brain and he'd used it. I was totally blown away by that. I thought that was amazing. And then suddenly thought, maybe you can teach children. So I went back into the school 2 or 3 times. And then a group of parents came to me and said, well, they love it. You know, they can go to drama lessons or piano lessons.
But
actually, my kid doesn't like drama because they're really shy and they're not sporty. They've really struggled with musical instruments. All they do is draw, and they're desperate for a club that they can go to. Could you run one? And I went, absolutely no way.
I love this. No way. No.
I've got 4 children under 11. Barely get a chance to have a cup of coffee. Where am I going to teach an art class?
But then it did happen.
And then I thought about it, and I thought, well, let's give it a go. So I put the thing out on Facebook, and I just said, I'm going to give an art class around my dining room table in the summer holidays. Does anyone want to go? And about 3 seconds later, it was like, right, it's fully booked. Can you stop messaging me now? That was it.
So the power of Facebook and social media for the business as well has been a real game changer for the Little Art School in terms of that communication. And it formed, as you say yourself, around Facebook, a post. Next minute, you had kids around the table.
So 10 kids around the table. That was 6.5 years ago.
And where are you now?
We are just about to franchise across the UK. So we have hundreds of children. We've had thousands of children come through the Little Art School. One of the kids around the table of that Little Art School, who at the time was 11, is now 18, 19. He is about to be involved in a massive project. He's studying art in Dundee, and he's part of a big project that I'm part of, a global art project taking place in May. You know, this is someone who started around the table and he's now painting at the kind of level that he's going to be mixing with really top-class artists. And some of the kids have gone to art college, quite a lot of them have gone to, but some of them have just taken it with them. Yeah. My girls have been playing the piano for years. They're good pianists and they love it. They don't want to go to music school, but piano is what they enjoy. So it's not like saying, well, if what's the point of going to your art lessons unless you want to go to art college? Yeah. This is a skill that is going to give you joy forever. Absolutely forever. I mean, sitting down, drawing. Part of what we do with our senior courses is they have a sketchbook, and we teach them how to sketch on location, how to be really confident about going out with a watercolour sketchbook, or first of all pencil, then watercolour, and drawing what they see. Forever they will do that. They'll have visual diaries, special diaries.
And I think now in a digital age as well, there's something really special. And I think as a parent of 2 children myself and working in a business community, any opportunity I can get personally coming off digital screens or digital technology, which is a major part of life, and we need to be using it, but drawing.
Who is ever going to say, what parent is ever going to say to their kids, you can put those pencils down?
Exactly. It's encouraged. It's like, get it out, let's draw. Let's get off the screen, let's draw.
And it's not just because of the Little Art School. Nothing fills my heart with joy than seeing so I've got 2 girls who are in their teens and 2 boys who are 8 and 12. Seeing them sit at the table drawing and creating, and the feeling as a parent of seeing that, as opposed to being a parent and seeing them on their PlayStation. I mean, it's incomparable. Their piece afterwards, the way they are, I mean, we're finding more and more, and we will over the next decade find out more about the damage that is going to be done by excessive screen time. I'm not a Luddite, and I love social media, and I love it all, and I love the amazing things that have happened from technology.
Mix, isn't it?
You've got to have a mix. You've got to have this mix. With kids, one of the most fascinating things that I did with the Little Art School was I went around primary schools, I spoke to 3,000 kids in that first year, and I asked every single one the same question. Do you think you can draw and paint? 100% of P1s said yes. And by P7, it was about 20%. And they were all girls.
So it feels very much like this whole Sir Ken Robinson scenario,
yes.
doesn't it? Around
so at some point
side.
Between P1 and P7, because you won't find a 4-year-old who says, I can't do it.
Yeah.
At some point, usually it seemed to be about P4, P5, they stop believing that they can do it. They start looking around thinking people are better. So they just stop doing it. Whereas for us, what we're doing is going, right, it's at this point, we'll teach you now.
We can give them the skills.
We can teach any child. There isn't one child who's been through us yet that we can't teach.
So you now employ, I mean, you give kids of several age groups a great experience, but you also employ 30 people. You've got 30 staff supporting the Little Art School. You've also got the Little Art School Trust, and I'm right in saying specialise a lot in dementia and
so it's got 2 strands
art provision for kids
for the charity. So that goes back to that story with my grandma, really. You know, that I was, because I lived with my grandma at the time I did, and when my granddad died, we were very, very, very close. And grandma's diagnosis with dementia was heartbreaking. And what would happen is we'd go and visit her in the care home. I'd take the kids, and she was pretty non-responsive, and then I would get, my grandma was an amazing singer. She had a voice like,
love a voice.
Soprano, just incredible. Both my girls sing, but Kate's shy. Elizabeth, I would say, Elizabeth, sing to your grandma, great grandma. Elizabeth sung, and it was like a light switch went on. It was immediate. She was in the room, and she was giving her top tips and talking about concerts that she'd sung in the 1930s and what she'd done in the war. And this is from someone who was barely holding a cough. It was like we stripped back. It was that light switch. So I wanted to do, I bought the stuff for the first lesson in my dining room with £100 from my grandma, and I'd already said I want to do.
So your grandma was even part of the
for me, she's part of the story. It's that summer around the table was the summer that my grandma died. So that's when I did it, and I think I felt my grandma with me through it all, and she was like a real Lancashire woman. So, but she really believed in graft.
So the business is growing, the trust is doing a lot of great work.
So from that charity, from that first lesson, we from that thought of what had happened with my grandma and the singing, I said, right, let's do it, let's try a lesson. I mean, I was petrified, I didn't know whether it could work. We taught a lesson, it was incredible. Light switches going on. So that first lesson was 4 years ago. We are now in 36 care homes across Ayrshire. We've developed a 4-year non-progressive course for dementia, which has been validated by St Andrews University. We're working with them. What they've said, and it went into the Dementia Journal, which went all around the world. What they said was that this project that we do, the Little Art School Trust do, it shows people living with dementia what they can do. There's a lot of, you can't drive, you can't do this now, you can't do that, you can't switch the oven on. We're saying, this is what you can do.
And is some of the methodology similar to the methodology we use in the normal classroom?
Totally. It's exactly what it's based on.
Which is fantastic.
It's shape, and we've had practical little ways to adapt, working with the Alzheimer's Society, you know, that backgrounds, a white piece of paper against a white board, someone with dementia can't see it. So we have a red board between colour perception changes with dementia. So our designers all got trained in that so that they can learn how to do that. It's a game changer. At the moment, we're having to keep it where it is in the west coast of Scotland. We've had inquiries from everywhere to do it because it's such a wonderful project. We can't until we've got the franchise launched. So we launch our franchise, get that sorted. That's our priority. But our vision for the Little Art School Trust and for the dementia arts project that we've got is much wider. So,
entrepreneur, visionary, know where you're going. We all know, anyone that's in the business world knows that this doesn't happen always alone.
Oh, never.
So there has to be people around to help make that happen. There's so many great stories. Who are the people that's helped?
Well, for me, it's a very. We've got an amazing team. But it's a really clear thing. And I think because I'm the social media, I always see myself as the sort of jazz hands of the little art school. It's not mine. I co-own it with my business partner. And meeting my business partner, that was the big change. I think when you're setting up a business, you've got to be aware of your strengths, but you really need to know your weaknesses. And my weakness is I've never even worked in a business. It's not that I've never owned a business. I've never worked in a business before. I don't know how businesses run. I don't know how you build policies or governance or all these things which are so key. And the reason why I didn't go bankrupt after 12 months, which I would have done, there would be no little art school, because I met this amazing woman in the school playground called Melissa Haddo, and she had worked in the corporate world for 25 years at a very senior level. She knows business inside out. She's as passionate about spreadsheets as I am about Da Vinci. And she
so both
makes
the skill sets have came together.
And it isn't that,
really nice.
It's me doing this and then Melissa building the business. It's completely 50-50. We co-own the company. That was a big decision, and it was a decision I've never for 1 second regretted, because by making it our business, not my business, that changed the business. That made it so that we've got my vision of where we're going and my creative side, but we've got the complete solidity. So the little art school is built on the rock that is Melissa's experience and her skill set, and she's got an amazing skill set. And that's what...
That complements.
Yeah, I mean, she wouldn't be doing this.
You're the visionary. You're the one that will go out there, the voice, and represent that social aspect.
Yeah.
Melissa's the one
that makes all that don't
happen.
for a second think, this is me, I'm the little art school, because it isn't. We're two together. We are absolutely a partnership, and it's the best thing. And when we set up the charity, because it isn't that I will come in with a crazy idea. I mean, sometimes she goes, oh, God.
Here's another one.
Here's another one. She does.
Here's another one.
But she'll be the first one to go, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. And whereas I'm going, she'll immediately go, and this is how we're going to do it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this in place and that in place and that in place. So for the charity, we co-founded the charity, and we're the ones who are driving it together and onwards, because we're doing another big project with vulnerable children at the moment, working in primary schools and within our own schools, and that's all part of the charity, which will take off into a separate section about the scholarships. Melissa is 100% behind that, and in a lot of ways, she's you won't see this externally, but she's the softer side, really, of the company, whereas I'll be going, yeah, let's not do it. She's like, no, we've committed. We will see this through.
That importance of having the right people around about you, and having the right people to challenge, and the right people to support, hold your hand, and all that stuff that comes around the business.
You see, I think because of the age we're living in, it's very visual. It's very much about personalities, and when you see these great figures who lead companies, what they'll all say is, "There's a team around me," and anybody who doesn't say, I don't believe anybody who says that. Who says, "I do it all." I am beyond it all.
Even, I mean, very briefly, if you're a solopreneur and you work for yourself, you tend to have other people around about you that help you make stuff happen. So whether it be your graphic designer, whether that be your web developer, whether that be someone who's your advisor, a non-exec, people you have a coffee with every now and again, that just gives you that sounding board. So people are really important. You've got a lovely family, you've got a very supportive husband who has supported you through, which has been a lot of work over the
has. And I think when I see people because we know we've met lots of different people starting businesses, what differentiates the ones who are still going and the ones that give up? Because there's been plenty of moments where I've nearly given up. We had one session a few years ago where I was sitting with you and I had to keep my glasses on because I was crying so much. And I just said, I cannot carry on. I cannot carry on with this. I'm going to go and get a job.
And can you believe we're nearly out? Can you believe that we are actually nearly out of time?
No.
How fast does it go? Will we extend this for like 3 hours? What I think is fascinating, even just that point there, is that I work with someone else through Forever Great, and this individual has always said to me, Frank, if it was that easy, everyone would be doing it. And I think that's one of the key things about being an entrepreneur, running a business. It isn't easy, but it's coming from something within. That there's something within that gives you that attitude and drive and passion. It's not always easy in terms of every day. You can get up in the morning and feel right, and then by the afternoon you're like, oh my God, why am I putting myself through this? How do you briefly, Joanne, deal with that not barrier, but that great, not so great, great, not so great?
Well, that is my life, and my husband and Melissa will tell you that. I'm either super happy or I'm like, this is the worst in the world. I don't have a middle thing. I've got a brilliant coach Brave Your Day, and that's changed my life because she's made me accept that that's just the way I am. And I'm happy with that now. I'm not trying to be something that I'm not.
So the coaching helps you. You have someone that gives you a bit of
critical, absolutely critical for me. So, and it's bravery coaching. It's quite specific coaching of just being brave enough to keep going, still believe in myself, still. But going back to like, when I did my Oxford application, it wasn't just me and my self-belief. My dad sent me a letter and he said, I am so proud of you for even trying. So I had that behind me then. And my husband now and Melissa constantly behind me. And if I go, I don't know whether this is going to work, I've got both of them going, you know it will. And it's just a matter of just picking yourself up and getting on and doing another day.
Again, it sounds like very much having the right people around about you to give you that shoulder to cry on, but also to give you that kick, if you like, to say, you can do this, you will do this, come on, what's next? One of the things that I suppose in summary of all this is that Forever Great in Conversation is all about having conversations with people who are doing great stuff across Scotland, within the communities and beyond. And what I love about the conversation with you, Joanne, what you're doing is the fact that you are not scared to take the risk. You're not scared to get out of your comfort zone. Sometimes, obviously, as all, we're kind of paddling inside, waiting to get found out in some shape or form. But I love this passion towards the dementia side. I love this passion and drive towards the social mobility we're giving kids in schools in less well off or kind of disadvantaged areas in Ayrshire right now. That opportunity to be able to be creative, to draw, to paint, and to have that kind of 10 minutes or an hour, whatever the class is, for someone to really show them you can create a masterpiece, you can do well. So thank you very much for being a driver of that in your community, and I'm sure the enterprise will continue to grow rapidly, especially the franchise which kicks off very soon through some support from Scottish Enterprise.
That's right. We've had amazing support from West Coast Accelerator, Scottish Enterprise, Business Gateway, Entrepreneurial Spark when it was running. It was. I don't think there's a better place to start a business than the West Coast of Scotland.
I agree. We're going to do 3 things. I'm going to ask everyone that sits in this seat that you're sitting on, and I've asked a few people already, 3 questions. Are you ready for these 3 questions? I'm ready, yeah. So the 3 questions, we'll do this at the end of every show, and for me it's really important that we are giving everyone the opportunity to share what inspires them, where they like to go, what quotes they like. So the first thing I'm going to put to you, Joanne, is who is the person that inspires you right now?
Right, well, I've thought about this loads, really put so much time. I've had so many different people come into my head. And this has freaked me out slightly because you just mentioned her just before we began, and that's why I just went a little bit, oh. But you had a very dear friend, and I was lucky enough to know her, Marianne, right at the beginning of my time at the Little Art School, and she totally believed in it. And when I doubt it, I just think, do you know what, I'm still here. And sadly, she passed away, and she was an amazing person. And I just think life is very precious, and I'm not going to waste it feeling sorry for myself. I'm going to keep driving forward. So Marianne.
We need to high five with that, and we have to dedicate this show to Marianne.
Absolutely.
So Marianne was an incredible character, and she also inspires me as well.
Does she? Yeah.
Absolutely. What an amazing human being that was taken from us, but she will forever is part of the conversation like she is today. Yeah. So thank you, Marianne, for all that you gave Joanne and many of us. Going from that, if we can, where is your favourite place to escape to in Scotland to find Joanne?
That was the easy one.
Where's the place that will find Joanne?
That was Green and Shore.
Green and Shore.
Down in
get to Green and Shore in here.
It's I can park my car most days, go for a walk down the side of the river, Doon, to the Millennium Bridge at Doonfoot, and walk my youngest son into school. And I just think, rain, shine, middle of January, absolutely pouring it down. Still think, got to be one of the most beautiful places in the world. And everything, if you're standing on a beach, particularly an Ayrshire beach in the middle of winter, you can't help feeling refreshed. You come out just thinking, is there a better place to live? Is there a better place to live?
You know what I think?
I can't
Ayrshire,
understand.
Scotland.
I go down south now, I'm like, guys, come on.
But we want to make sure that we're having these conversations with people from across Scotland. We're sharing these
I love, there's a million amazing
escape
places, but that's home and that's my school run.
And that's special as well, that's part of the commute that you can go and escape and find a bit of perspective, a bit of calm.
Well, I'm mainly shouting for my dog that's run off somewhere, but...
Come back.
Yeah.
And the final question is, what's the quote, the phrase that you go to every now and again that gives you either peace of mind or a bit of focus?
Yeah.
What quote
Well,
is
I've
it
gone
that you
through
resonate
about
with?
50.
You're a quote person, though.
Because I am a quote person and I love a quote and I'm always...
So let's finish with a quote.
Right, my quote is, and again, this is just a bit odd because we talked about this earlier and you brought Marianne up and that really, it did make me feel a bit strange, but it was on the wall of the Facebook office and it was, done is better than perfect. And I'm not a perfectionist, which drives other people mad, but I am very much of it. Let's go, do it, and then we'll work it out. We'll come back and we'll try it out. But I think perfectionism holds so many people back. You've got to just do it. Be prepared to look a bit of an idiot and then check it and go back.
Well, I think that's the most amazing way to finish. I'm glad you've mentioned that because I think in the context of this, we've done it.
We've done it. It's done.
Don't know if it's been perfect, but we've done it.
Yeah.
And it's been good fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being part of Forever Great in Conversation.
I've loved it.
Good luck with everything going
Thank
forward.
you.
For more information on the Little Art School and all the great work that Joanne, Melissa and the team do, we'll share all the links to the websites and social media, and we continue to look forward to watching this organisation and the Charity Trust doing some great things going forward. Until next time, share, tweet, get this podcast and YouTube out there, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks very much.